Stephen, did you have a preseason prediction for the Final Four?
I did, but it's basically going out the window.
Throw it out there. I need to know what it is.
My preseason, oh my gosh, this was so terrible. My preseason, I had Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and Washington.
Wait a minute. What's wrong with that? Alabama's on its way. Ohio State needs to win out, but it should be in good shape. Clemson's in good shape. Washington's only got one loss.
Hold on. My bad. Take out Clemson. I have Florida State.
Florida State. Okay. Well, a lot of us had Florida State. So last year, I'm going to preface this by telling everyone that I'm going to brag one more time, that last year I had the Final Four before the season started: Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Washington. Now, this year, I had Alabama, Ohio State, Florida State. There's a lot of us, Stephen, with Florida State, and it just collapsed.
I mean, and you really thought it was going to happen because everybody was building up to the opening game. You had so many people from the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl committee, from presidents to chair members. They all talked about the greatest opener of all time. This is possibly a setup to a rematch in the college football playoff. Everything was building up to this game, and then the collapse.
Well, what I liked, Stephen, about Florida State preseason is if you look at the talent defensively, this added up to arguably the best defense in the country. Alabama fans don't want to hear that, and I'm not saying definitely the best defense in the country, but it was adding up talent-wise to be right there with Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson as the best defense in the country and the most talented defense in the country. Well, they haven't lived up to their billing. DeAndre Francois in play, and I was also looking at the body of work late in the season. So Clemson won the national championship, but they barely hung on to beat Florida State in Tallahassee last year. Also, the wins down the stretch against the likes of Florida. They won an outstanding bowl game against Michigan. Florida State just looked prime to fix the offensive line issues, which was the only issue on the team, and take it from there and make it through. And as the ACC has been in recent years, it's been a one-game playoff between Clemson and Florida State. And you figure, okay, well, we're going to get them to that point. So if they can beat Clemson, and Clemson has the issue at quarterback, the question at quarterback, then that's why a lot of people, including myself, went with Florida State. Now, Oklahoma State's likely not going to make it, but they were my other selection, and they are still alive with just the one loss and looking to make it to a Big 12 championship game. So we still have life here, Stephen. It's not as bad as it looks, but the Florida State thing is just awful.
Well, I mean, I'm not totally bummed out. I mean, half of my four made it. You know, Bama, Ohio State. So I got half of my pie. Of course, the other half is burnt bacon, but I got half my pie. So
wait a minute. You said Florida State and Washington, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Washington has some huge issues, even with just the one loss. The schedule's awful, and the Pac-12 is not looking good at this point. And the teams that they have lined up in front of them are not impressing anyone, Stanford and Washington State in particular.